We're about to start selling a book, an excellent book by James Turk called The Coming Crash of the Dollar and How to Survive It, which says very clearly that housing values, you can expect them to drop 50% over a 2-year period. And that from the lady who had no mortgages. Yes. The Coming Crash of the Dollar and How to Survive It. You'll see it up for sale on the website at From the Wilderness in a couple of weeks. The author's name is James Turk. You can look it up on Amazon, or it's a great little book. Okay, here's part of the problem. U.S. per capita debt and GDP. The relationship to per capita debt as a relationship of gross domestic product. What that means, literally, on several fronts, speaking from an economic standpoint, it means that we are borrowing to create a bubble economy. The United States today depends upon $2 billion a day in foreign direct investment. That means the Chinese, the British, the French, the Russians, the Malaysians, the Brazilians, all of them have to come to Washington, D.C. and buy treasury bills. That's why you are allowed to borrow at low interest rates on your credit cards or for your home loans or for your refinances. We are living in a bubble economy that is sustained, jobs are sustained by nothing but debt, borrowed money, all underwritten by foreign people putting their money into the dollar. How many people are aware that the dollar is starting to do this? Oh, you were paying attention to that. Okay, that's good. You might not have seen a story that I clipped from the Wall Street Journal or New York Times that I mentioned that said, my agent's looking at his watch. Get the hook. What do you mean? We do this all the time. It's not even 9:30 yet. I see everybody's got to pee, but that's okay. How many people have to pee? Okay, when we get to 60%, well, no. Okay. All right. We have to keep borrowing to sustain this bubble because there's no real manufacturing left in this country. Okay, and people are being encouraged to borrow to spend, which sustains the economy, which is only sustainable. But there was this little story I clipped from the paper that said, people are getting surprised all over the world because their credit card rates, there's a little contract that says the credit card company can adjust the rates. And we were seeing people's minimum payments go from $200 a month to $450 a month just because the interest rate went from 5% to 18 or 24%. That's part of the falling dollar. Part of it, just the beginning. The U.S. trade deficit is the other key component. That's the size of the trade deficit. It just broke a new record last month, which means that we are buying everything overseas and we're not making anything here, and we're getting all of our stuff made there, and it's all money flowing out, and then we borrow the money and we ship it back out, and you guys are in the middle as literally the conduit for this cycle because you're encouraged to borrow and to spend beyond your means and not save so that you can keep this bubble afloat. And the United States government is literally about to tank and destroy the dollar. America's foes prepare for monetary jihad. Yeah, that includes George Bush, Jack Snow, the Secretary of the Treasury, Dick Cheney, the Chairman of the Federal Reserve in New York, and the Chairman of Greenspan, and the Chair of the New York Fed. They're all planning a major war on you, on your dollar. Central banks count the cost of weak dollars. Now, the euro is now up to about $1.31 or 32, I think it was, $1.31 the last time I checked it. If you're a European central bank, the U.S. dollar is the largest reserve currency in the world. It's the way we get all this cheap oil, because we make everybody buy oil in dollars. That's the way oil has been priced. You should know that Saddam Hussein decided to price his oil in euros in, 2000? Or 1999. And that is probably one of the major reasons why we had to go kick his butt out of there. And guess what? This year, Iran is going to open an oil futures bourse. That's like a little stock market trading oil in euros. Okay, central banks count the loss of dollars. Now, all these foreign central banks, because oil and energy and everything else was priced in dollars, would go buy a lot of dollars. But what's happening is that the dollar is going in value. But the euro is going, and the Europeans don't like that because nobody's buying European products. But I think Europe can withstand that, and I think Europe will withstand that. But the central banks holding dollars are declaring losses. The European Central Bank, you can barely see the headline. And this just came out like 2 or 3 days ago. European Central Bank to report 2004 budget loss due to dollar drop. All these countries that are holding dollars now are losing money. So if you were holding an asset, by the way, one of the best definitions of asset that I've ever heard in my life, to really help you clarify your thinking, because you've been totally brainwashed, an asset is something that makes you money. A liability is something that costs you money. Is your house an asset or a liability? Liability. Ah, thank you. Okay. All right. ECB to report 2000. If you got assets that are losing value, what would you do? Would you get rid of your assets if you saw that they were going to lose a lot more value? All right. Now what happens, you see, the idea, the trick for all these countries is to get out of the dollar without causing a run on the dollar. But the run will come. It has to come sooner or later. You've heard of the bank runs in the 1930s. Okay? So when every country, and you know, I've got some stories here, I think. Thailand. What is this? Foreign reserves, secret. Yeah, Thailand is starting to bail out of the dollar. Wobbly dollar spells trouble for central bankers. That's in Australia. China has just authorized 4 of its banks to start selling dollar assets. Mexico has started dumping dollars a little bit. EU to begin trade talks with Iran. Whoa! Europe's going to Iran's rescue now in the middle of the falling dollar crisis.
And European drug dealers will no longer accept the dollar.
Oh, wait a minute. Who said that? Who said that? Watch my next slide. There it is, right there. Bravo! Whoa! Was it, are you on coffee or drugs or what do you want, man? All right, here it is. Even drug dealers are giving up on the dollar. How many have followed my work for more than 2 years? Well, how did I get my start in this? CIA and drugs. $600 billion a year in drug money flowing through Wall Street. If the dollar gets weak, people aren't going to put their dollars in Wall Street, are they? Because they aren't going to have dollars. Wall Street only trades in dollars. Now, I was a small-time narc investigator. I was hoping to work up to the big case. Actually, I got the biggest case of all. I got the White House CIA deal on drugs. But in the 80s and 90s, you know, during the big cocaine heydays, you know, when Pablo Escobar and Carlos Later and the Ochoa brothers and the Medellin and the Cali cartels and were running around, they would have pallets of $100 bills, and they wouldn't count the money, they would weigh it. I'm serious. I am not kidding you. They could weigh it out, you know, and know if it was a couple $100 off, and it wasn't worth their time to settle it beyond that. They would shrink wrap them and bury them. Now, the $100 bill is going down in value. Euro's worth 131. The euro has a 200 euro note, which is worth 262 US dollars. Now, if you're a drug guy and you're really concerned about the number of bills you carry, what's better, a 200 euro note or the $100 bill that's going down in value? If the drug dealers are playing the dollar, you better believe the dollar's game is over, because the drug dealers are some of the smartest money men I've ever met in my life. And here it says, right here, it says Euro trash, drug dealers don't give me no more dollars, man. We don't want your stinking dollars, okay? Here's on the housing bubble. Residential property prices are now falling in Britain and Australia. And this is a clear story from The Economist. And we had this up on the website a couple of weeks ago. From The Economist in Britain, that the housing bubble is a global housing bubble. And it will have a global impact. It's already starting to pop in Britain and Australia. Now, we're going to have a story from Catherine Austin Fitts, another one of my dear, dear friends, and she deserves a round of applause for those of you who know her. Fearless woman. wrote a wonderful story with Chris Sanders, Sanders Research in Great Britain, and she put out that there are probably 3 times more paper mortgages than there are physical properties in the United States. How many people have ever heard of the fact that they're trading pools of mortgage-backed securities, like mutual funds, but it's all mortgages? And they've fraudulently cooked. You heard about a scandal at Fannie Mae? A $9 billion scandal? Freddie Mac's coming soon? Those books are as cooked as the books on Enron. And all of your mortgages are based on that.